And we are live. So, welcome to episode 258 of An American Werewolf in New Jersey. I am the American Werewolf. In the house tonight, we've got Barrington Martin II, aka BDMI, host of the Barrington Report. That is your Substack.
Radio show. We're in Substack, yeah.
And your Substack. And you were also, let me see if I got this right. You were a congressional candidate in the 5th District of Georgia. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm the last person to ever run against John Lewis.
Is that right? Wow, that
Yes.
is something. That's saying something.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Well, thank you very much for taking a little bit of time to come here and hang out and shoot the shit.
No, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, always. I just like talking to people. You know, I say, this is what the internet is supposed to be.
Right.
Where you can just connect, like you and I would never meet without the internet. We wouldn't be here right
Absolutely.
now. So if we could use it for, something remotely useful, then, here we are. Hold on a second. We got a quick comment here. We got Eric from Hey Internet Eric here, and he said, welcome to the channel, Barrington.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you.
Yeah, Eric is a regular on the show. He's been a friend of the show since about episode 3 or something like that. So
nice. And you're like almost 300 in, so that's pretty good. He's loyal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's a regular on here as well, so it's not just in the comments. I like having him on. It's nice. I'm not a person on the internet where I want to be friends with everybody, but every once in a while you do meet someone, you make you're like, that's a friend.
Absolutely.
That's cool. So there you are. So I've been following you a little bit on the old X, and you seem to have a lot of strong opinions, and I have strong opinions myself, and a lot of the time I think that we're in agreement on some things. I think most of the time, probably. But as I said before we went on, I just kick it off by saying, what are you thinking these days? What's going on in the world? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it, what the fuck? Feel free to curse. What do you got for me today?
Well, first and foremost, thank you for having me on, and it's always a pleasure. And like you stated earlier, I love having conversations with people, but I also like sharing my perspectives because I think my perspectives oftentimes are unorthodox and not necessarily the norm with respect to a lot of topics. Now, to answer your question, man, I really don't know. And when I say this is because personally, in my personal bubble, everything is copacetic, everything is wonderful, everything's actually phenomenal. And I have no complaints. But when I look at the world and I get my assessment of the world, man, everything is legitimately has gone straight to shit. And I think it's been like this. It's been ongoing downward spiral, shall I say, since I probably became an adult. And I don't even mean an adult by law, but just when my brain finished developing, that's when I consider myself an adult, and just me looking at the world, looking at things that are happening, but more importantly, looking at the behavior of people around me. I do a lot of community work. I see children a lot. I see teenagers a lot. And oftentimes they are, I would say, the indicator, in my opinion, of how or where the world is going. And when I look at the behavior, I would say over 60%, 65% of the kids that I see on a day-to-day basis, it shows me that a lot of the basic things that we once used to value in life, family, values, culture, pride. And I'm not speaking from a racial perspective. I'm speaking from a human perspective. A lot of these things that were paramount to the success of a human race, you see that it is totally disintegrated, essentially. These kids aren't educated or they're supposed to be. They don't possess manners. They don't possess simple etiquette. And then when you look at the kids are just a mirror reflection of the adults that I'm noticing. People don't even have their own views, don't even have their own thoughts. They're easily led astray. They're easily persuaded, even if all facts aren't presented. And I think that we're just on a crash course to see how close to the bottom that we can get.
I hear what you're saying. I, have also spent some time in community, so to speak. I spent about 12 years in social service. So you see some of the worst things. I spent about 5 years in education in those same populations, those same areas and neighborhoods. It's not pretty, the things that you see. I think that, has culture been replaced by pop culture?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Has everything been replaced by a confection rather than something of substance? A lot of things, not every, and like you said, it's not 100%, but a lot of things have been replaced by, posturing and things that just completely lack any sort of substance, going back a couple of generations now. So, parents don't, and the parents didn't have it. So now the kids don't have it, or maybe, even a generation further back than that. And, so many of these kids are just in distress now.
Yes.
And what I've seen over the years, the adults have lost their grip on the situation. Working in the school systems, it used to be a long time ago, I would say, okay, well, now the teachers are afraid of the parents.
Yes.
When I went to school, if the teacher called my mother, my mom picked up the phone. I was like, that's it. That's my ass. Yeah, that's
a deal. Absolutely.
Wait until my father gets home. Then it's a double deal.
Absolutely.
And then I saw this shift where it was no longer the case. It was the teachers somehow had become afraid of the parents. I got a D or an F or something like that. It was my fault. He gets a D or an F now, it's the teacher's fault. But now, what I've seen, and I've gotten out of education. I used to be a teacher. Thank God, because I don't miss it. They were really great experiences. I was an international teacher for 10 years. And I taught here in the United States. So, I mean, I had an unusual experience, but I came back internationally after a decade and worked again in the school systems after a decade. And it has gotten so bad that it shifted from the teachers not being afraid of the parents. They're now afraid of the kids.
Absolutely. The inmates run the asylum.
Yeah, absolutely. They're afraid of the kids. I've seen fights break out, standard run-of-the-mill stuff. But teachers run around the corner now, the male teachers. And I remember talking to a teacher, this was a little while ago, and I had seen him from another school, and he's like, I know you. And I'm like, hey, man, how's it going? And we're shooting the shit. And then all of a sudden, it just bursts out because we were working in a high school. And we both look over, and there's this fight. And like for 2 seconds, I look over and I turn back to where the teacher was. He had run around the corner and was literally sticking his head out. I'm thinking, what the fuck are you doing? That is, that's where we're at now. And that's not even that's before you even start to talk about the kids.
Right. And the thing is, and I've noticed this too, especially with the demeanor of kids, like kids don't even have like simple manners. Like I remember going to school, for example, and I went to a high school that was not necessarily the best high school, even though you had pockets of gifted children in there, and I was one of those kids. But like even I would say, the thugs of my high school, the guys who I knew sold drugs, who I knew were just coming to school just to play basketball in gym, and then they leave midday around lunchtime because they was driving Caprice Classics or box top Chevys. Like I remember this, like it being a freshman, and these guys, even though they had their lifestyle, they still respected the adults. They still was yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes sir, no sir. It was very rare that they would get into it with the administration, if anything. But now these kids have absolutely no respect for adults in any shape or form. They don't even have respect for their parents. And you will see this within the interactions between these children and their parents. And more notably, what you start to witness is you see that there's a culture difference now than it was today. For example, grandmothers back in my day, and I know I sound crazy old when I say that, even though I'm not that old. Grandmothers were around, 50, 60, 70 years old, 50 on the younger end. Oh, yeah. Now, grandmothers are like 40, 45 years old.
Man, you might get one in their late 30s.
Yes. And
You
it's
might get one
like,
in their late 30s. Yeah.
what is happening? What is going on here? And why aren't we having these conversations that need to be had about fixing these things? Because they're simple fixes. But as you stated, the inmates run the asylum. People are afraid of telling the truth. And I think that's what the ultimate overarching issue is within our society right now. No one wants to be honest anymore.
Yeah.
There's a lack of honesty.
I disagree with you a little bit. I don't think it's an easy fix because you can't get people to admit that there's a problem in the first place.
That's fair. I agree with that.
Because the problem always is that it's somebody else's fault.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And whether it's the kids, especially the girls. Oh my God, these girls nowadays at the high school level, you're like where do you come from? They're practically feral. And I'm like, what the fuck is, what is going on? But then you meet the parents and they're a bunch of rageaholics, maybe because they had kids too young and now they've never gotten anything back on track for themselves. And so nobody wants to admit that how far down a road you've gone in the wrong direction.
Right.
So when that happens, then you just keep descending into hell. Just keep descending and it goes further down and further down because you're lying to yourself and you're lying to everybody else. And, there's absolutely no truth. So there's no place for a solid foundation for anything because the whole thing is built on bullshit. And it's awful to watch. It's awful to watch.
1000%. And then, like you say, it's a perpetual cycle. And I my grandmother used to tell us this when we were kids. The worst lie you could tell is a lie to yourself. And that's what people are doing. I'm talking about in every sector of life. I mean, we see this on X every day.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, what's happened? I mean, this is a virtual reality. Like this is a real conversation you and I are having. Like we're talking, whatever. But the internet itself is not reality in the way that going outside and going to work and interacting with your family is real. It's a virtual kind of reality. And I think people, have created these personas and, are probably withdrawing more from I hate to say this, the real world, just to exist in this sort of persona that they create for themselves here. Right. It's kind of bizarre. It's bizarre to watch. Do you think that, what do you think now in the new Trump era? What do you think? Is anything going to turn around for the better, or is it? What do you think?
Okay, so I think
by that I mean here in the States. Okay. Internationally, that's a whole other can.
That's a whole different conversation. I agree with you. Okay, so the pendulum is swinging back to the right, as we know, as we've seen. Now, as far as things getting better, I want to say the only things that are going to get better is us returning back to common sense. For example, President Trump's executive order about there being two genders. Now, I have no issue with that, but the only issue I have with that is how crazy is it that the president of the United States has to sign an executive order for something that has never, ever been disputed since time immemorial?
Yeah. Yeah.
How is that? How did we get so far from common sense that there needs to be a law that is specifically the legislatures of my state just passed that states that boys have to play sports with boys and girls have to play sports with girls? How did we get so far? But this is the thing that kills me, bro. This is the thing that kills me. We knew within the last 4 years.
By the way, hold on, man. My name is Mike. I'm sorry.
Okay, I want to go. I just want to make sure. Cool. Yes. Okay. So as I was saying, Mike, how is it possible that everybody who's living in the United States now has known that we went too far out of control with this gender stuff and with allowing men to play sports with girls? We knew this, but why didn't anyone say anything? Why did people start putting their pronouns in their email address signatures? Why did people start participating in why are people going along to get along in this manner? How do we get this far out of control from Fear of what though? What is the consequence?
Fear of being called a name. You're a racist, or you're a transphobe, or I know people who would say to me, one-on-one, this is bullshit, but then go into their job and they were terrified to say anything.
Insanity to me.
It's really weird, because I left America in 2010, and it's like the second term of Obama. I've been a Democrat my whole life. I was one of those guys. I voted against HW. That like back in like late 80s. I'm 56. So I voted for Clinton twice. I voted against W. Bush twice. I voted for Obama once. Okay, of all the ones, that's the one I really regret, because I'm like, what the fuck was that? But I left in 2010, and it really wasn't paying any attention. Right. And then somewhere around 2016, I remember I started to meet these. I was working internationally, and you get a lot of influx of new Americans.
All right.
People from Britain or wherever. But I pay attention to the Americans. I'm an American. Hey, new Americans.
Right.
And I would meet these girls, and they were fresh-faced and just out of college, around 23, 24, and they seemed very nice. And I'm like, hey, I'll have everybody over and show you the ropes, because I've been here like 4 years now. The ins and outs, show you a couple cheat codes here and there. Get some beers and some pizza, and just sit down and shoot the shit. And they seemed like perfectly normal people. And then all of a sudden, they would flip. I'll never forget this. And just start with this like venomous, I fucking hate America. And, I started hearing terms I had never heard of before, like the patriarchy. And, and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, the only reason you're like, I know you. You're like, after a while, you get to know them. I'm like, I know you. Like, we're in like South Asia. There's an endless supply of poor people for you to interact with if you hate capitalism. I know you. You're always at some rooftop bar, some bullshit tea plantation, some winery. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Right.
So that just kept going on, and like Trump just started like mentally breaking people. Like when he won that election, I remember teachers were like sobbing. Like, I thought someone had died. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what happened? He won the election. What the fuck are you talking about? I come back 10 years later, 2020, cities are on fire every night. You remember that summer of 2020.
Summer of love.
Yeah, summer of love. Cities were on fire every night. The police weren't allowed to arrest anybody. No one could tell you what a woman was. So between 2010 and 2020, I came back and I'm like, what the fuck is going? Like, these people have gone crazy.
Lost their minds. Lost their damn minds. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean, the crazy part about it is it's like a widespread mental psychosis. And that's what people don't understand. People don't even know. And then I say this on my radio show all the time, just about, are your thoughts your thoughts? And if they're not your thoughts, who put them there? Why did they put them there? And what benefit do they have in you thinking the way they want you to think? People rarely have or rarely share or rarely create original thought anymore if you have not noticed. Everyone simply like takes the popular thing, I guess a microchip put in their mind, and they become fully enveloped into that thought, whatever it is. And when you are able to separate and isolate people by themselves and try to get them to project or promote some type of original thought, they self-destruct. Because the mental games, the mental psychosis has been so strong, people are not even aware that their behavior patterns are not due to thoughts that they have themselves, but based on what they see on TV, what is the end thing to be, and to not be what everybody else hates. I have never in my life seen so many people who are afraid to be on the outside looking in of being out of the collective, if that makes sense. Like, I've never seen people who are so many people, that is, who are so agreeable about everything, who are so afraid to rock the boat, even if the boat they're rocking is goes against logic or goes against what they have truly believed. And this is what we've seen over the last 4 years. And to be honest, we've seen this kind of sort of since Obama's tenure.
I
To
think
be
that's
very
where
frank.
it started. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's where it started. And I didn't pick up on it either. I didn't pick up on it because I just didn't like John McCain.
right,
And I was, he was so fucking unlikable. You were just like, well, this guy, is saying something different. Okay,
right.
and he seemed young and fresh face and maybe some new ideas. Not gonna lie, the idea that he was a black guy, I was like, wow, this could be the first guy. This could
Yes,
be the guy. And he
yes,
was the guy, just not in the way.
yes,
You got to be really careful now to look out for people that are contemptuous of their own country and voting them into positions of power.
right.
That's not a good thing anymore.
Not at all.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Not at all. Not at all. Go ahead.
Uh,
I'm sorry.
no. Go. I
What I was
lost.
going yes. So what I was going to say is, even in politics now, and I've noticed, and this is the thing, like I value my sense of introspection and self-awareness. I think being self-aware is one of the most important traits that any human being can have, especially in this society where you're constantly being bombarded with propaganda. You're constantly being bombarded with indoctrination and programming. And so I'll always take an assessment over my own thoughts and my own belief systems. And I've noticed, or I witnessed my own transition, because I remember before I got to the point where I am today, I remember being pro-black, for example. And the only reason in retrospect, I only was pro-black because that's what you knew. It feels like that's what you were supposed to be, essentially. Like if you weren't pro-black, then you were somehow being a traitor, and you being treacherous against your own race. Go ahead.
Were you being a sellout?
Oh, 1000%, 1000%.
Were you being a coon? Were you acting white?
Still do call that.
I know that routine. I know that routine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so I remember, for example, my first job in high school, I worked at a law firm. I was a law intern, one of the biggest firms, or some of the biggest firms rather, in Atlanta. And I remember being torn or feeling torn because on one hand you have even family, friends, people around you were saying things about white people, and then you will go out and have your own experiences with white people, and you're like, this doesn't match up. And don't get me wrong, racism exists, we know that, prejudice exists, yes, but is it stopping you from being successful? Is it stopping you from accomplishing anything? So then I remember just growing up, having life experiences, hearing all of these things, and then at some point it just snapped. Like, wait a minute, this is not the reality. Like I have been held in gunpoint at a party, 5 guns, teenagers. These weren't white people that held me at gunpoint. These people look like me. So I live in Atlanta, Georgia. This is the premier place of blackness in the world. And you mean to tell me that you have all of these people older than me, adults, people who've seen so many things in their lives, more than I have this, it's like this overarching belief that racism is just the most deadliest threat of their existence, when essentially they don't even come into contact with white people on a day-to-day basis. Where do they get these ideas from? How does this work? How do you go to work every day knowing that your coworkers are white and you share these type of sentiments, but yet you don't express these sentiments to them? And this is what I'm saying.
I think what happens is that it's gone back several generations. I think it goes back to a refusal, and now I think maybe 50, 60 years ago it was a refusal, but now I just think it's an inability to acclimate to being what you actually are, which is just an American.
Bingo. Yes.
But you can't. It's the one thing that I think a lot of black people just don't want to be. It's the dumbest thing possible, because this is the richest, safest time in human history. Like, everybody should be cashing in right now. Everybody should be cashing in. And if you get it, if you're past a certain age and you don't know what the cheat codes are, buddy up to someone that does. Hey man, hey, show me, how to. Everybody should be cashing in, but
yes.
The absolute refusal to acclimate just as a simple American, and live this, great life that like people from Afghanistan drop off of airplanes and fall to their deaths just to have the possibility to do it. Or
Right.
these people that are coming up through the southern border, risking, life, limb, and what happens, these awful things that happen to children, just to have, what we already have.
Yes.
It's an absolute refusal. And now I think it just doesn't even occur to people because, people think that, they're at the center of some kind of bullseye when in truth, like nobody's thinking about them at all.
At all, under any circumstance. And
No.
yet, but it's this constant narrative that's been perpetuated because, in my opinion, it has created the mythos of our country. Racism is a big foundation to the mythos of how the story of America after the American Revolution is created, and how present day relationships or present day interactions between people in America partake in, and so to speak. So like I tell people this all the time. I have conversations with my friends about this. When you look at the way the different races or just different people in America, the way they interact, it's never really natural because it always has some type of underlying concept where race is at the forefront of any type of discourse when it shouldn't be. And it makes absolutely zero sense. For example, you will have people that have never ever had any negative contact with the law enforcement. You will have people who are doctors, Black people specifically, who are doctors.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Doctors, lawyers who are like legitimately top 1% of success in the entire world, more successful than a lot of white people, but yet and still they have this thought in their mind that in somehow, some fashion, they are still oppressed. And somehow, in some way, that they are always under the threat of racism. They are always under the threat of white supremacy. Mind you, these people live in $1 million homes. These people drive the best cars, have the best health insurance, have the best things life could offer them. But for whatever reason, the white man is still the boogeyman.
But see, here's the thing, and the sad part about it is that they teach it to their kids.
Yes.
I see this in my Facebook feeds, I have to have the talk with my son. He's old enough now, why are you why are you instilling fear in your own kid?
Correct.
You get pulled over, say yes sir, no sir, just do what the officer tells you, and that's pretty much it.
Everybody wants to go home. It's that simple. Everybody, even the cop himself, wants to go home. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I've never had my parents are, I want to say that they're pretty pro-Black by some of the comments they made throughout my childhood and even till today. But they don't realize that they set a certain standard to where race wasn't even a conversation in my household like that. Like my pops always says, be undeniable. You should be so good at what you do that it should be a cost of looking over you. And Thomas Sowell has always said that there's a cost to discriminating. And he's absolutely right. If you are the best lumberjack in the world, and I have a timber company and I need to cut down trees, and I say, oh, I'm not going to hire you. You're some light-skinned Black man. I'm not going to hire you. If you go work for someone else, I'm going to lose money because you're the best in the world. If you go into business for yourself, I'm going to lose money because you're the best in the world. But we teach our kids, by our, I mean Black people, we teach our kids that no matter what they do, no matter where they go in life, no matter how great they are, it's going to be an ugly little thing hanging over them called racism, that somebody's going to always look at them. That's the inferiority complex that I always talk about.
I'm half Black.
Okay.
And I was adopted at less than a year old by two Black parents.
Okay.
So, back then people got married. They stayed married. My parents were married for 58 years until my mother passed away.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. But, I'm just saying, yes. They owned a home. They owned land. That's what people did back then.
Right.
I don't know that it's so much nowadays, working in some of these communities and systems, very little home ownership, almost no marriage, single parent households, usually the mother, who's either stressed out of her mind or just an absolute rageaholic, if not worse. I don't see a way. See, and that's the thing too, because to think out, but let me double back for a second. I grew up hearing a lot of the same things that we're talking about now, and it didn't register with any of my experience. So I really didn't pay any attention to it. And of course, there's racism. I mean, that's part of the human condition. Anywhere you go in the world, you're going to run into some sort of, racial discrimination. Who gives a shit?
Right.
What does that have to do with me getting ready to watch Raw at 9:00? Nothing. What does that have to do with me paying my rent or the financing rate on my car? It has nothing to do with anything that
not a damn thing.
My day-to-day life or my life in general. So why would I hamper myself that way? But the thing of it is that to not think that way comes with a cost. You can be ostracized. And depending on how important you think that is, you may, like I said before, it's fear. You may not want to speak up.
Right.
Because you could be, you're a sellout. Next thing you know, next thing you know, you're the new Jesse D. Peterson. You're winning the
Absolutely. Yes. I totally agree.
I love how he just goes around and just trolls people all the time.
Yes, man. Yes, man. He has fun. That's the thing too, man. You have life is too short. People are take themselves so seriously, and I don't understand why. You have one life to live it to the fullest, live it how you want to live. Stop living or abiding by these imaginary rules or these imaginary laws that you have to abide by simply because of the color of your skin. And it just seems like this only happens in this manner in America, the quote unquote freest place in the world, the place of liberty, the place of independence, the place of freedom. Yet and still people are bound by these invisible chains.
But only the dummies. And so I'm past the point now of now it's just I'm just contemptuous.
Okay.
I'm just openly contemptuous. I'm like, you're a moron. And I don't have time for you. I don't have time to explain it. I've tried to explain it for decades. Nobody wants to hear it. So have fun polishing brass on the Titanic. Just stay out of my life. Just stay out of my way. Because life's too, like you said, life's too short. Right. And I'm not running a lifeboat service here. So if you don't want to see it, then okay, that's your problem. Have fun, getting your ass kicked, on another X video I'll probably watch over the weekend. That YouTube channel Body Cam Watch, where somebody turned a $15 ticket into 15 years in prison, somehow, and you're like, how is anybody this stupid?
Right. Okay, since you brought up WWE, I wanted to talk about this. I wanted to talk about this because and I'm gonna segue into something else, WWE. I still, I remember our email exchange, or maybe DMs. It was.
Yeah,
I still don't understand why people have an issue with Hulk Hogan. I don't understand why people think Hulk Hogan is racist. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Because it's a sacred cow, man. It's a fucking sacred cow. Some dummy rapper, can say, the N-word as much as you want to, and nobody cares. But yeah, it's some sort of sacred cow. As if, I think some of the most racist people I know in America are black people.
When I said
racist people, go ahead.
Before you follow me, I said that maybe it's 2025. I said that maybe 2022 or between 2020 and 2022. I said this. And when I went viral, so viral that black comedians were having videos on YouTube about me, to which everybody was like, you legitimately would have thought that I went in the field and murdered 1,000 dogs on tape and sent it out to the world. The way that these people were talking about me.
You went out there and advocated for picking cotton all over again. That's what you did. You see, it's not so bad out here. You get some gloves on, you don't break up your hands, and the cotton, I can get some money. Come on out here, everybody.
Right. You would have thought the way people acted, and I'm like, guys, do you all look around? Do you not see some of the things that black people are allowed to say that no one else could say?
There's no self-awareness. Zero. On a scale of 1 to 10, -47. There is zero self-awareness. None.
Yes.
No, I couldn't even fathom that kind of mindset. But
Yes.
yeah, they're some of the most racist people in America. I mean,
Yes.
to be perfectly honest, everybody has said something racist at one point or the other. And I'll tell you what, I like my biases.
I do too.
Like,
I just,
I
yes.
have one preference of one thing over another, depending on what it is, or almost anything, and we all
Yes.
do. Like, I
And
don't
there's
want to
nothing wrong with
throw
that.
away my biases. Yeah, exactly. You keep yours, I keep mine. The world keeps on spinning. But
And there's clearly have been some observation that you have undergone to even possess those biases. And so that's the thing. And it's almost like people have this tendency to, in my opinion, want to see the world through rose-colored lenses and not be honest about themselves, or not being honest about the experiences that they have. Like, I don't understand. I don't get it. That's why, like, I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of Hulk Hogan as a wrestler, but if the man had a private conversation into which he was sharing intimate details from a woman that he was intimate with, and
right.
she recorded it to blackmail him or to make money off of him, that's not right. Because everybody in existence, literally every human being in existence, has said something behind closed doors that they will never say, or shouldn't say rather, in person. And we all know that if all of our conversations were recorded and someone got to pick out something to basically either make us look bad or to extort us, we will all be in trouble.
Yeah,
We will all be in trouble.
all of the black wrestlers that hate him, I guarantee you, they said worse shit.
Yes.
Please don't tell me Booker T has never said nothing racist, or Stevie Ray. All Stevie Ray does is complain. Mark Henry, same one. Mark Henry and Stevie Ray, that's all they do is fucking complain. Rikishi, he's always complaining, always talking about race.
All of these old wrestlers. I'm so happy. Can I just say that I'm happy that we're having a conversation about professional wrestling, because there are so many things that I need to get off my chest right now, right here and there, right now, about what is going on, or what has been going on over the last couple of years. Now, all of the old wrestlers outside of RVD, Stevie Richards, especially Stevie Richards, everybody else to me has been haters. I watch these podcasts, I listen to these podcasts, they're the biggest haters, like, ever. And it seems like they were never allowed to reconcile any type of issues they had during their heydays. And that's really what it is. And I get it, and I understand it. But when you are like shooting on a present day wrestler who up to this point has had no bad press, has not done anything, and they have exceptional in-ring work, what are you doing? Why are you going to business for yourself? What is happening?
It's human frailty, and I think especially with the old school wrestlers, there's a lot of grudges.
1000%.
There's a lot of grudges, a lot of unresolved resentments, and so who are they directing them towards? Who are they always directing them towards? The top people.
Correct.
Hogan, one of the biggest of all time. Everybody hates Hogan. Everybody's got a story about Hogan, how Hogan screwed him over. Maybe he did. I don't know. But it's not a coincidence. Ric Flair is another. People are always, about Ric Flair. When you get to the top, you got a lot of people underneath you, so to speak, that, are going to try to do something to try to pull you down. It's the oldest story in the world. People want to see that you're doing well. They just don't want you doing better than they are.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
So if you're at Hogan's level, well, then guess what? Stevie Ray's going to hate you. Mark Henry's going to hate you. Is Mark Henry a Hall of Fame guy? Of course he is. Was he fun to watch? Of course he was.
Yes.
Do I like Mark Henry? Sure. I don't know the man, from one way or the other. But was he as big as Hogan? No.
Absolutely not. Absolutely. A lot of these guys never reached the stardom that a lot of the guys they dislike about. And I find that interesting, and I get it and I understand it. But like, just expressing your grievances 20, 30 years later, you're no better than the Me Too women. You're no better than the women that said they were raped 45 years ago with no evidence or anything about it.
Haters, just haters.
That's
but the world is full of petty resentments, and slights, and things that go unresolved. It's an unfortunate thing.
Absolutely.
It's a shame. It's a shame, really. I like Hogan. I think Hogan's speech I don't know if you saw his speech at the GOP convention. I thought it was the best speech of the whole damn thing.
His Hulk Hogan being Hulk Hogan. Like I have no issues with that.
When he ripped his shirt off, I was dying laughing.
Laughing. Yeah. Yes.
Like, this is the greatest thing ever. I'm like, holy shit.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah,
Yes. And this is the thing, and this is why, I really, and I don't, you probably haven't seen my interactions with people, but I follow a lot of wrestling accounts, from bloggers or people who have the inside scoop when it comes to PLEs and interviews and things like that. I follow them, and I look at the tweets that people state when they talk about Vince McMahon, and I just feel like, in spite of whatever he was accused of, whatever is that situation, don't really care. I respect people for the work they've done in their business, to which a person like Vince McMahon is a pioneer. He's one of the great, wrestling would not be where it is today without Vince McMahon. And you see these marks, these online marks, the online wrestling community has a tendency to act holier than thou and want to totally eliminate Vince McMahon out of the history books as if he never existed or he did not matter. The same thing with Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan is such an icon to me. When you think about America, when you think about the United States of America, you think about Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, he's bigger than wrestling, actually.
He's bigger than wrestling. Vince McMahon, one of the all-time great American businessmen.
He's the greatest promoter of all time.
Of all time, bar none.
It's not even close.
It's not even close.
It's not even close. Who would be second? I
can't even tell you. From he legitimately got it from the mud, as what the hip hop community says. He bought his company from his father, then he took it to another level. And then the Monday Night Wars. He did everything he could do, made the right decisions at the right time, always.
Yeah. Not to mention the Mr. McMahon character, maybe one of the greatest characters of all time. It might be the greatest character.
He's the greatest heel of all time.
Yeah.
He's the greatest heel of all time. The fact that he had the foresight to understand, I have this anti-hero in Stone Cold Steve Austin. He's already over. He has everything I need. How can I take this to the next level? What is something that the fans or the average man can connect to? Everybody hates their boss. Everybody wants to fight their boss. Boom. Boom.
Yeah. Yeah. And he gave everybody a shot at it. Whether it was The Rock or whether it was Foley. Every once in a while it was Triple H. It was Shawn Michaels. And everybody got a shot at beating the living crap out of him. And it was just great every single time.
Even his kids, even his wife.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Flair. Flair would get a shot at him or something. I mean, I think Flair is the greatest wrestler of all time. I know people have their personal realm.
Really? Who's your Mount Rushmore? I need to know this. If Flair's one, who's your Mount Rushmore?
There's one. I hate to say it, but I'm going to say it. Benoit is my number 2.
Wow.
Before
I'm not mad at that.
Before it
I'm
happened,
not mad at that.
No, before it happened, he was my number 2 after Flair, and yeah. I mean, it's fucked up, but yeah, Benoit.
Right.
Who would be my number 3? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe the Macho Man.
Okay.
I tend to go back a little far, with some of my guys.
Fine.
The Macho Man, and I don't know. I'd have to think about it for it. Give me a minute. What about you?
Okay. So I have my all-time greats, but then I have my personal favorites. I'm gonna give you my personal favorites, right? In no particular order, but my favorite wrestler of all time is HBK.
Oh, are you a Shawn Michaels fan? Okay.
I'm a Shawn Michaels guy, 1000% HBK. Then give me Hitman.
Oh, yeah, but the Hitman heart. Yeah.
Give me Hitman. This may surprise you. Give me Hitman. Then give me Dean Malenko.
Yeah, sure. The man of 1,000 holds. Yeah.
Give me Dean Malenko. And then I would say out of I'm not going to mention Rock or Stone Cold because that's like they're in upper echelon or anything. Like, I'm not going to mention them. And then finally, I'm going to take Scott Hall.
One of the best to ever do it.
1,000%. To me, the greatest wrestler to not hold the heavyweight title outside of Mr. Perfect.
Mr. Perfect. Yeah, I talk about Perfect all the time. Eric, who was here in the comments, we talk about Perfect. Every time a Perfect video comes, we text it to each other, or something like that.
Yeah.
In fact, after the Super Bowl dropped, they showed that promo that he did when he first showed up in the WWE, and he threw the football.
He threw the football and got it.
And the other guy's like, "What the fuck?"
He's like, "Whoa!" He's like, "Wow."
Yeah, Mr. Perfect, man. Oh, geez. Yeah,
yes,
Bret the Hitman Hart is another one. Wow.
Yeah, man, Hitman's one of my all-time favorites, man. Like ever.
The Hitman is an interesting one because he's just a clean-cut guy, and wrestling is just full of depraved fuck-ups, or at least it was.
Yeah,
it's just full of depraved, drug-addled, drunk, brawling, rapey kind of fuck-ups.
Yes.
And then you would have this clean-cut guy who would just say you're a scumbag to your face, and just like walk away.
Right.
And you would see he complains all the time. But I would be like, if you were just a regular guy surrounded by all these bozos,
right.
you would be like too after a while. Jesus Christ,
absolutely.
Keep your shit together.
Absolutely.
He was good.
I love to hear Hitman shoot on anybody because I love wrestling stories. I love the podcast because there's so many, it's so interesting. I love to hear about things that happened in the past, but I'm still a believer in kayfabe. Like I don't want to know what's going on behind the scenes right now, and that bothers me. Like, for example, watching Jacob Fatu celebrate Jay winning the Royal Rumble.
Oh,
okay, so I didn't want to see that because I get it, they're family, I understand that, but what does that do for the bloodline storyline? Like you can't interfere with that.
I'm a little over the bloodline, man. Unless it's Roman or The Rock, I feel like I can't get away from the JV team, man. I can't get away from the JV team. They won't stop.
No.
Like how did Jey Uso win after he just lost 2 weeks ago at Saturday Night's main event?
Okay, so to your point, this is what I think. This is fantasy booking. This is what I would do.
Okay.
This is what I would do. Gunther already beat him 3 times. I don't want that story. I think he should go after Cody. Yes. Hopefully Cena wins the Elimination Chamber, even though I don't think they're going to give it to him. He's going to find some way to go to Mania. I want to see Cena and Gunther for the 17th. I think if Jay were to beat, let's say Jay were to beat Cody for the belt, right? That brings up a whole new aspect of the bloodline storyline. And I know you don't like it, but that was to me, the bloodline storyline is one of the freshest storylines that we've seen in a long time in wrestling.
I'm done with Solo Sikoa. I can't stand Solo Sikoa.
So what do you think is going to happen since he came back this past week?
I don't know. But you see, that's just the point. I mean, how long have we been having these huge promos with Solo Sikoa? It's been a year now.
Yeah.
And nothing ever changes. That's the problem with Triple H's books. I think he's done a hell of a job with creative. Yes. He's cleaned the whole atmosphere up. In the post Vince era, people feel safe and they're not, competing for their jobs, and the women don't have to show their tits to get over. But some of these storylines have gone on for too long.
Okay.
I think that the bloodline is one of them. I think another one was the Rhea, and that just ended, the Rhea Liv Morgan thing. That went on for
ended.
That went on for a year.
Yeah.
He tends to let things get a little long in the tooth. I mean, last year it was the bloodline at WrestleMania.
Yes.
And it was Roman and it was Rock, and then it was Jay versus Jimmy, and
horrible match, by the way.
Yeah, it was and then Solo's running in to help The Rock versus Cody. What I actually would like to see, I know you won't appreciate this, I would like to see it be Cody versus Jay, then have Cody like go full Kevin Owens on him, like he just did at the Royal Rumble, and just like smash, like Kevin's head just stuck in between the ladder rungs, kind of beat down. I would be okay with that.
I wouldn't mind that. I'm ready for Cody's heel turn. I am ready for Cody's heel turn. I'm ready for it. I am craving it.
Who's your favorite heel right now in WWE?
My favorite heel in the E right now. I want to. Is he even a heel or he's like in a tweener? I want to probably say McIntyre.
Oh, Drew McIntyre.
Is he a heel or is he like an anti-hero right now?
I'd say so. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Not to cut you off. Who are the heels right now? Kevin Owens,
the Judgment Day. Although they're more comedic.
Yeah.
I think Dom Mysterio is the greatest heel in wrestling right now.
Right now, I don't agree. I don't disagree with that. I don't. Yeah. You're absolutely right. I agree with that.
I think Finn Balor, all the guys from the Judgment Day,
right?
Liv Morgan, she's another heel. I'm trying to think of the Raw roster.
Yeah, I'm thinking the Raw roster as well. I know Imperium.
Logan Paul.
Yeah,
Logan Paul's a huge heel right now. He's got so much heat. Nia Jax.
I like Nia.
I like that. Yeah.
I like. She's doing good work right now.
She's getting better every week. She seems to get better.
She's doing great.
Yeah.
She's doing great work right now. And I think that is going unsaid, but she's gotten so much better from when she came back.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what the problem is?
What's that?
I was saying this the other day. The WWE owns their bench is so deep. There's not enough for everybody to do something.
There's not enough titles. I've been telling people there's not enough titles.
And it's like the same 6 people.
Yes.
It becomes Bayley, Liv Morgan, Rhea, Tiffany. I love Chelsea Green right now.
Yes,
I love Chelsea Green and Piper. Piper Niven.
Yes.
I think Piper. I want to see Piper and Nia go at it.
Yes,
I think that would be a great match.
That'd be very good.
Jacob Fatu is a huge heel right now, but he's over as a heel.
Future champion.
I think so. I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy about it. I'm just not. I'm kind of over it. I think it's a lot of no selling. It's everybody else putting him over. Like when I saw him fight.
Braun.
Yeah, Braun Strowman.
Okay. Yeah.
Like Braun was throwing him around like he was a baby.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he gets caught with like half of a Samoan drop, like Jacob could barely lift him, and then it was over. And I'm just like, oh, come on, man. Braun puts a lot of people over. He did the same thing with Bronson Reed.
And that's what I can't wait to Bronson Reed come back. But I think that's what his job is. And that's the thing is the WWE has so much talent. And then looking at AEW's not necessarily releases, but the wrestlers who did not re-sign with them, they're probably going to end up going back to WWE. And my thing is
WWE just released a lot of people too.
Yes, absolutely. And so my thing is I really hope Vince is able to come up with another wrestling promotion because the WWE needs competition, and this is when they were at their best. We saw this in the Attitude Era. AEW has the talent, but I don't know what's going on.
It feels very disjointed.
Yes,
and it's like they feel kind of adrift. And they're putting their veterans up front.
Yes.
But like Christian Cage really isn't a franchise leader.
No, he's not.
And neither is Edge.
No.
And I saw they brought back Samoa Joe, and he's looking. They made him fight this kid who was like 150 pounds. It made no sense.
Of course.
And you've got Shivani and JR together. Somehow, I can't believe I'm saying that. Somehow that doesn't seem to work. I would never believe that you would put Shivani and JR together and it doesn't work.
Right.
Like something is just off there.
Everywhere.
They need a blood transfusion or something. Listen, we got 3 minutes.
Okay.
You called it at an hour.
Okay.
So I don't know. I want to like that. I want to enjoy it, but they need direction. Yeah, they need direction. Definitely.
Yeah, and Tony Khan's not doing it. They're like, okay, so you have Omega, you have Kenny Omega, you have Will Ospreay, you have MJF, you have Ricochet, you have like some top tier talent, and you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing with them at all.
No. I'm just starting to pick up on that. See, here's the one thing. Like here at my house, I don't have cable television. I just have streaming channels.
Correct.
So AEW just showed up on Max on HBO.
Right.
So I'm just starting to pick up on it. And I remember I was like, oh shit, I finally have access to AEW. And I watched it and I'm like, something's off here.
2 years ago, it was a good product when MJF and Adam Cole were like a team and they were going back and forth with feuding with each other. And then when Ospreay and Omega were fighting each other. And then when you had Okada and I can't think of the other guy's name from Japan. He starts with a T. Man, these are top tier talents, and they are being like they are riding on the bench or like they're just riding away. And I don't want them to miss out on their prime years with this, there's no type of organization. The storylines are just out of place. The only thing the AEW is doing right is with Tony Storm.
Maybe that's it. It's just bad, like terrible booking. Like
it's horrible. Like, it's horrible.
Death level booking. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Like none of it felt crisp. There was no pop. The wrestlers didn't look happy. You know, right. Like they didn't look like they were into their performance or anything. It just looked like they were kind of, phoning it in. And I felt bad. I'm like, oh, this could be a lot better. What I want to start watching also is TNA.
I don't even know where TNA comes on TV.
I gotta find it. I want to start watching this guy, Joe Hendry, after seeing him in the Royal Rumble. Now I'm kind of like, who is this guy? Okay.
You believe in Joe Hendry. You believe in Joe Hendry.
I want to believe. I'm like Fox Mulder here. I want to believe.
Yes.
Well, listen, man, we want to get to this second half of Raw ourselves.
Right.
So let's get you back on sometime soon, if you like.
Oh, man, look, man, absolutely. I enjoyed this. We can talk about everything from politics to wrestling, man. You're amazing. I totally enjoyed this.
Sounds good. We'll just have a shoot the shit session.
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
Mike.
Well, my thanks to Barrington Martin II. Do me a favor, man. When you get out of here, DM me your links, and I'll put them in the description, like the Barrington Reports.
Absolutely.
That kind of thing, and I'll put them in the YouTube description. Check out his stuff. Follow him on X at BDMI. He's got some good takes there. He's telling the truth, which is not something you see all too often. You don't see it nearly enough. My thanks to you once again. We will see you all in the next video. Stick around for a second, man. And God bless everybody. Take care. All the best. Hey, everybody. This is the American Werewolf. Thanks for stopping by. Like the video. Leave a comment. Subscribe.